Thanks for staying with us. We are on to our second panel of the day, Financing, Financial Fundamentals for Business Owners and Entrepreneurs, presented by Allies for Community Business, BMO Harris Bank, the North River Commission, Albany Bank Chamber of Commerce. Brad, go ahead.
Thank you, Stella. Good morning, everyone. I am Brad Mcconnell. I'm the CEO of Allies for Community Business. And I'm going to spend just maybe 2-3 minutes giving you a couple highlights on who we are and what we do. And then we'll move on to the other speakers and then hopefully spend all the rest of the time answering your questions. So Allies for Community Business is a nonprofit community development financial institution. We're located on the west side of Chicago at the corner of Lake and Albany and East Garfield Park at the Hatchery, which is the food and beverage incubator that we co-own and are co-located at. But we serve all of the city with a particular focus on the underserved communities on the southwest sides of Chicago. Our vision is that entrepreneurs from any background can start and grow businesses. And our mission to help is to provide the capital and the coaching and the connections that entrepreneurs need to grow great jobs. To grow great businesses that create jobs and wealth in their communities. So I'm just going to talk about how we provide the capital and coaching and connections just for a couple of minutes here. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So the capital that we provide is in the form of loans and grants. The loans that we offer are in that space that the mainstream larger financial institutions don't serve as well as they serve larger loans. And so we're in that space between $500 and $100,000 that entrepreneurs need, whether you're an early business or business has been working for a few years, or you're a long established business and you need a dollar amount in that window. And then we try to provide free money, because obviously free money is the best money, whenever we can in partnership with City of Chicago, State of Illinois, county, lots of private philanthropy, foundations, institutions who have resources available that we can then serve as the program administrator for to get those free dollars into the hands of the entrepreneurs who will use that money best. And so on our site, we'll get to the ways to contact us in just a bit. We list every single grant program that we hear about, whether we are the program administrator or not, so that any entrepreneur who is interested in those grants can find them, and we can help to make sure that if you're eligible, that you get access to that free money. But on the next slide, I'll show just a little bit more specificity about our loans. So again, between $500 and $100,000, we don't underwrite in the way that most institutions do. So we don't use your credit score. We look at the details of your credit report instead to understand really how well your payment habits have been developed over time. And we don't put liens on your house, your car. We don't care like how valuable your assets are. What we really care about is over the last 2 years, how well have you managed the debts that you've taken on, so that we can provide you with, we think, based on your recent credit history, is an appropriate amount for you to then take on in debt for the growth of your business. So we make loan decisions pretty quickly. As little as a day. It usually takes somewhere around 5 business days, just depending on how much back and forth is required. At the moment, our interest rate is 3%, plus 3% in closing fees. That will change once we get later into the year. But at the moment, it's 3% interest. Usually it's a 2-year loan, but we can stretch that if it's appropriate. And if you're interested, a4cb.org/loans is the place to go. And we'll be happy to work with you on a one-on-one basis to talk through what it takes and how we can best serve you with the capital available to us. So next, I mentioned capital, coaching, and connections. We'll just cover how we think about coaching first. So all the coaching we provide is free, and it's one-on-one. And we'll start with a 30-minute conversation around your schedule, which is our opportunity to just get to know what you're trying to accomplish with your business and how specifically we can help you to grow that business. And then on the basis of that initial conversation, we'll put a path in place. Working alongside you, we'll spend as much time with you as you would like in order to help accomplish the milestones that you're setting out to achieve. We also have group coaching in the form of either frequent webinars that we either participate in like this or run ourselves on a monthly basis. And we also have a cohort-based program called the Neighborhood Entrepreneurship Lab. A lot more information about that is on our site, a4cb.org, but it's a 9-month program through which you get a $20,000 grant, 9 months of individualized and group coaching, and connections to other door opening opportunities amongst all the people who are participating in the cohort to help you to generate more revenue and manage your expenses more effectively. And then finally, the connections that we just back to the previous slide, if you would please for a moment. The connections that we try to make are our attempt to try to make sure that if we don't directly provide something, we can help to make sure that the services that others do are available to you as an entrepreneur. So 3 of those. One I mentioned before with respect to kitchen space, that we are the co-owner, co-operator of the Hatchery. That's the largest nonprofit food and beverage incubator in the country. So we provide a lot of services there, specifically focused on West Side businesses in particular, but anybody from the city, Chicago and beyond can participate in all those services, whether you need physical space to grow your food and beverage business or you're just interested in the programming that we offer there. We're also one of the 8 Chicago business centers. And so if you need help with your licensing, we can be of assistance there. And then finally, we really try hard to make connections for entrepreneurs who are looking to build larger contracts by getting into the procurement pipelines of big institutional buyers who have to spend money on stuff anyway. So why not spend money in our own communities with the business owners who can supply those needs? So whether it be a governmental entity or a hospital or a big bank or a university, we have lots of partnerships and we're eager to help you get your certifications so that then you're eligible to secure those contracts and then help you with the financing and the coaching you need in order to successfully get those bigger contracts. So finally, just going to the last slide, please. These are all the ways to contact us. So all of what we do is listed on a4cb.org, loans, coaching, if you want to refer an entrepreneur to us, all the social media and the rest. So I'll stick around for answering as many questions as we can, but be really happy to be helpful to you throughout the entirety of our organization, whatever way would be most helpful for you. And with that, I will pause and shift back to Stella.
The North River Commission, Real Scavo, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Stella. Hi, Brad. It's nice to see you. North River Commission, my name is Maricela Pozo. I am an economic development organizer at North River Commission. North River Commission was founded in 1962, so this year is our 60th anniversary. And we are a neighborhood not-for-profit corporation that serves the northwest side of the city. It unites over 100 civic associations, schools, businesses, places of worship, institutions, to create quality education, affordable housing, arts and culture, parks and environment, community development, and economic development. You can go to the next slide. Under the economic development umbrella, we run the Albany Park Chamber of Commerce. We're one of the 8 Chicago business centers. And through the Chicago Business Center, we serve a bigger area than North River Commission service area. So we serve all the small businesses from Diversey and the river all the way to O'Hare. We are also a neighborhood business development center. We manage the SSA number 60, which was expanded this year. And lately, this year, we got the cultural specialist contract to better serve our Hispanic community. We help businesses at all stages of development with business licensing and permitting at a more local level. So you don't have to go to the city if you don't have to. With financing by connecting people to grants, loans, banks, and other financial institutions. We usually refer them to Brad at Allies. We also do trainings, workshops, and help business owners one-on-one when needed. We have personalized support for new businesses. So we are kind of a free real estate agent. We refer them to landlords and to anything else that they might need to open their own space. We also have a bulletin board and newsletter to help spread the word about businesses that are looking for new people to hire. And we also do a lot of advertising and marketing through special newsletters, weekly newsletters, social media, website, ribbon cuttings, anything that can help the small businesses. We do a lot of networking events as well, in person and online. And we do community-wide events as well to attract more people, tourists and also residents to be outside on the streets and spend money locally, such as the Northwest Brew Fest that was this last weekend. It had 15 brewers. We had 300 people coming from all over the city, so that was fun. In June, we're having Flavors of Albany Park, which is gonna feature more than 50 restaurants, 3 routes. So that's going to be great. Lot Jams, we're going to be having 8 concerts in the summer. This is a free concert in different parking lots in the neighborhood. We usually do bar crawls, taco crawls, paleta crawls, and really any other event that might bring people out and spend locally. We usually refer our entrepreneurs to other organizations, like I said, like Allies for community businesses. We send them to Women Business Development Corporations, Kiva. We have relationships with banks as well. So we always know or try to know what grants are out there. If you go on our website, we're always updated on grants, on programs, city programs, state programs for small businesses. So we're always a good resource for small businesses at any stage of the development, like I said. Thank you. You can go to the next slide and see the whole team. And we speak Spanish as well. So feel free to refer any people, any person that might need our help. Thanks.
Bashan with BMO Bank, you can go ahead. Bashan, you are muted.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Again, good morning and thank you for the invitation for today's session. You can move on to the next slide, please. And just a little disclaimer about the information. Move on to the next slide, please. Okay, a little bit about me. I've been with BMO Harris just under 20 years and been in banking over 25 years in a variety of roles. I will say that the role that I am in today as head of BMO for Black and Latinx businesses and women in business has probably been one of my most rewarding roles since being in banking. So I'll talk more about the program and then some tools that we provide to assist with training. You may move on to the next slide, please. Okay, who are we? BMO Harris Bank. We have over 500 branches in 8 states. We are the 8th largest bank by assets, and we continue to deliver a purpose beyond our profit. We like to stay engaged in the community. We have over $18 million in charitable donations and 679 million loans to support affordable housing. And those numbers continue to keep growing. So we are delighted to be here today to share what else that we're doing in the community. Next slide, please. So fueling the good for Black, Latinx, and women in business owners. So as I indicated, I head that program. I do have a co-head, Leticia Flores Poole. And the reason that this program was started was because of some statistical information that was we took a look at and supported what was being felt out there in the community for minority businesses. So of the 27.6 million small businesses, 8 million are owned by minority business owners. And that growth rate at the time between 2014 to 2016 was about 11% for minority businesses compared to only 1% of non-minority owned business. So tremendous growth rates between 2014 and 2016. And I suspect those numbers have increased. Those owners, 42% of minority owners indicated that they had difficulty obtaining credit versus 29% of non-minority businesses. So this is our why behind our program that we launched about a year and a half ago, and I'll get into more details about that. But this is our why, and you can move on to the next slide. What is the program? Again, it's empowering Black, Latinx, women, and business owners with access to capital, access to education, and access to partnerships. Our Access to Capital program consists of a business line of credit up to $50,000 and a business credit card that could range up to $50,000. The unique thing about our Access to Capital program is that our business line of credit, while it requires 2 years in business, our business credit card, you can be in business for less than 2 years. So we're able to actually provide access to capital for those startup businesses that are less than 2 years old. Our Access to Education program is really kind of bleeds into our Access to Partnership program as well. But we provide free tools and templates and webinars and coaching, all from our program website. And you do not have to apply for the Access to Capital in order to have access to these free tools that are available on the website. And our Access to Partnerships, what we know for sure is that we will not be able to lend to everyone. There's still a segment of business owners that still need assistance in educational assistance or another opportunity to get access to capital. So throughout our 8 states, we've partnered with organizations such as Allies for Community Business. So when we can't do the deal, we collaborate with them to see what we can get done for those businesses. And so this is our 3-pillar program. It is a 5-year program. We're into it about a year and a half now. And we have had some tremendous success. You can move on to the next slide. So as of 2/28/22, we've been able to provide approvals to over 900 businesses, roughly $26.9 million in available credit. The average loan size has been about $40,000, and the average credit card size has been about $8,000. And so we are very proud of this program. In December, we received an award, the 2021 Best in Biz Award, and that is because of our innovation with this program. We actually won the gold in that category, and so the digital adaptability we have now implemented in our branch, where you can apply for this access to capital, and in most cases get an immediate answer. So quick turnaround, funds are in business owners' hands in a quick manner. Go to the next slide. One of our educational tools that you can find on our website, and it goes into a little bit deeper dive than this particular slide, is really understanding what banks look for in our underwriting decision process. So typically character, capacity, capital, collateral, and the conditions. Our particular program, BMO for Black, Latinx, and Women in Business, is an unsecured. So we're not looking at collateral. So that is a plus for the program. And we've actually relaxed some of the underwriting standards for the the character, which we take a look at we do take a look at your credit report, and we do assess the behavioral patterns to determine risk. Capacity, we reduce the debt service coverage. That's a bank term, but your capacity to repay the loan. And so we do look at those things under our standard program, and under our special purpose credit program, we have relaxed a couple of those items. Next slide, please. So we support, again, Black, Latinx, and women in business owners through our partnerships, such as Allies for Community Business. We also have done a lot of work with the Chicago Urban League in terms of providing us webinars, collaborating with educational tools, and we do work with other local organizations, chambers of commerce, to determine, what can we do to help provide educational assistance, as well as be able to provide information to their membership. And so this is just a slide that talks about the fact that we put in over 300 hours in educational and webinars in collaborating with our community partners, and that number continues to grow. And so that's our program, and that's just a glimpse of looking at the underwriting criteria for the programs here at BMO Harris Bank. I believe this is probably my last slide. Next slide, please. Yep. If you want to connect with me, you can connect through the Black Latinx Business at BMO.com or Women in Business at BMO.com, and someone will respond to you right away. Or you can go to our website, the BMOHarris.com, Black and Latinx, or the Women in Business. And that's where you can check out those free tools that are available to you, or your accountant, if you have an accountant that wants to take a look at such things as cash flow analysis. Any questions? I'll hang around and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
We do have a few questions.
Okay.
I have a very thin credit file, which means that I have not had a credit card in over a decade. Would this disqualify me somehow? I'm a pre-startup.
Okay. Yeah, we would have to assess what's on there. I can't say what will qualify you or disqualify you. We do have information on, what how to build that credit. One of the misnomers is that, you need to close out all your revolving lines of credit and not have credit. Well, that kind of counts against you, because we have to be able to assess repayment patterns. And so without, you going through the application process, I cannot say whether it will not qualify you. I would say just understanding what helps to build a good credit profile.
And I can add to that, in the case of an application, Allies for Community Business, we are going to look at entrepreneurs who have little credit, but not bad credit, as an opportunity to help you to build up your credit profile, so that not only can you get probably a relatively small amount of capital, but some sized loan today, but then you use those repayments to that loan in order to then become more credit worthy, to be able to access larger amounts as soon as you've repaid the first one. So we tend to call those credit builders for that very reason. And so typically we would be lending up to $2,500 for those who have very, very little credit history, and then help you to build further after that. But again, as Shonda said, it's going to, as always, be situation specific, and we'll work directly with you if you're interested to evaluate your specific credit profile and history and what your needs are for your business.
What assistance can someone receive when starting their company?
Great question. Again, we provide assistance through some free tools, but more importantly, our partnership with organizations like Allies, and also with the Urban League and with SCORE. those are great organizations in the Women's Business Development Center. Those are great organizations that help business owners prepare business plans or talk about where you're at, where you're going, and really help you to get started.
Yeah, that's right. And so we'll provide as much free coaching as you'd like to get your business started. And in addition to that, with respect to financing, when we have an entrepreneur who comes to us who doesn't have 2 years of business financials, that's fine. In that case, we'll be evaluating you as a business owner. And so we'll look at your personal credit history and your personal financial situation, because we want to invest in you as the business owner so that you're able to grow your business, even if your business is so new that we can't evaluate the track record of the business itself. So startup lending is no trouble. We do a lot of that. About a third of our loans last year were to startups, and I'll define startups in this case as a business whose first sale has been within the last 6 months or hasn't had a first sale yet. So happy to help if that's of interest.
I own a small business and would like to sell it to one of my employees. Is there a banking program that would assist both myself as an owner as well as employee make this happen?
So the person that you're selling it to I'm assuming they will be looking for financing to purchase. Is that correct? And if so, the business, at the end of the day, it would be, while it would be an ongoing concern, the new owner would have to apply for access to credit in order to purchase the business. So it's just a matter of how you want to set that up. And so that's a good discussion to have with a banker to understand the transaction a little bit more, so then we can determine how to best go about it.
What is considered bad credit?
There's a basic description of it on Google and different ranges. And so you can pretty much base your credit score if you're looking to determine that based off of some of the information that is provided out there on the website. When you're in that less than 600 area, in even mid to low 600, you probably will want to work on what's causing that. And as Brad indicated, and BMO Harris, we also have a credit builder program as well. You really want to start taking a look at how to reestablish yourself before you try to keep getting credit, because honestly, the number of inquiries also brings your credit score down. So sitting down with someone and understanding what's causing your credit to be low, and then coming up with a plan to, get the credit score where it needs to be so that access to capital is more readily available.
I'll add to that the reason why Allies for Community Business stopped using credit score, that single number that's reported by all of the credit bureaus, is that it's a black box that we can't see into, and we don't know exactly, although we have, we all have our suspicions about how that number is calculated. And importantly, we know that issues that you would have had in your own credit history that may have been several years ago are still going to be penalizing you in a way that we don't think is appropriate. And if you have certain situations that are kind of beyond your control, like in particular, you had a medical emergency where you had to come up with a bunch of cash in order to pay off hospital bills or something beyond whatever insurance you might have available, that in our view doesn't really in any way say what your habits are. So what we care about is, what are your credit repayment habits? And in particular, what do your habits look like over the last 2 years? So Yes, I think Rashawn's absolutely right that there's plenty of information online about how a credit score is interpreted by lenders, and typically a number that's less than 650 is looked at as kind of mediocre, and a number that's less than 600 is not great. But I think many institutions use that number as the baseline, and some, like ourselves, don't.
Yeah. And Brad, for our program, we do look at a baseline, but we have moved towards more looking at behavioral repayment habits as well, to the point that you just made, your medical bills. I mean, we don't include that in our assessment, because again, that is just an unfair assessment. So we do look at credit behavior as well.
Question. My business is less than a year old. Is there more information that you could provide on grants for new business owners?
Yeah, I can speak to grants for a minute. And Marcel has, they have their eyes open on grants as well. The specifics on when dollars are available through grant programs and what the criteria are largely driven by what the funding source is and who's running the program. So our objective at Allies for Community Business is, as a program administrator of some of those efforts, to make sure that we reach out to as many people as possible who otherwise might get left behind by these programs because they didn't know about it, didn't know how to navigate the application, whatever it might be. And further, when it's a grant program that we're not running, just make sure we do the best we can to get the word out about a program that somebody else is running, because we want to make sure that entrepreneurs have access to all those funds when they can. So the specifics of each program are, unfortunately for all of us, unique and different. And so it completely depends on what the criteria is for a given program as to whether or not you'll be eligible. I will say that most, although not all, of the grant programs that we have been involved in have been looking over the last 2 years to be able to backfill losses for pre-existing businesses that had already started before COVID. Not all of them, but most of them have been structured that way. And the reason for that is that it's federal funds that are being used for those grant programs, and that is the criteria that the federal funds require. And so there's nothing we can do about that. But there have been at least a couple, and I'm aware of at least one other, which is at least in the design phases, which will be specifically focused on businesses that are much newer, and therefore trying to help those business owners who started business in 2020 and 2021 who weren't eligible for some of those larger previous programs. So I don't know yet exactly what the criteria will look like, nor do I know when the program will be launched, but I've just been around sort of discussions thinking about how to get a program like that off the ground. So I'm hopeful that in 2022, something like that will become available.
Yeah, to add to that, unfortunately, in the last couple years, all the grants have been for COVID recovery. But there are also many grants out there for women and minority-owned businesses. These are private grants. They are usually, small, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. You can go on our website where, like I said, we're always updating our grant list. And like Brad said, we usually try to spread the word as much as we can through newsletters, on social media. We usually, if you give us a call, if you send us an email, we can add you to the list and actually call you, just to spread the word and make sure that you learn. We usually help also apply to people when they are not available in Spanish. We help them apply in our office. So make sure that you reach out.
Does Allies for Community Business provide funding for business expansion to open up a cosmetology school or a salon?
We do provide funding in some cases for business expansions. And so again, the funding can be between $500 and $100,000 in our case. And whether or not we can do a loan like that is, again, going to be driven by the payment history of the business owner who's applying. And then also for an existing business who's looking to expand, we'll evaluate the financials of the business itself to make sure that there's sufficient cash flow in order to cover the cost of financing that debt. So in 60 seconds or less, I'll just provide you a little bit more detail about exactly what it is that we look for, all of which is on a4cb.org. But for loans up to $25,000, we just look for three things. One, over the last 2 years, have you avoided bankruptcies and collections and charge-offs greater than $500? Two, over the last 12 months, have you had at least one open line of credit on your credit report, and have you made all those payments successfully? And three, right now today, do you have at least 25% available on your outstanding credit line, so you're not just borrowing from us to go pay somebody else? If the answer to those three questions are yes, we're going to immediately move to make you an offer up to $25,000, and it'll be sized based on whatever you've been paying successfully over the last 12 months. We're going to add another 50% to that, and that's your offer. That's the whole credit policy. If the answer to any of those three things is no, that's okay. We're just going to dig a little deeper. And then in that case, we'll ask you for one of tax returns or bank statements or financial statements. And then we're going to evaluate your debt service coverage or debt to income ratio, depending on what you provided to us, in order to see how much we think that you will be able to comfortably repay. So finally, if you're looking for money between $25,000 and $100,000, the process is exactly the same, except it's an and instead of an or. So we're going to check those three questions off of your credit report, and then also look at your tax returns, bank statements, and financial statements to make sure that you can qualify on the basis of those three checks we make off your credit report, and also that your debt service coverage and your debt to income ratio work out. So that's it. That's the whole credit policy. And again, all of that is explained on a4cb.org/loans. But that's how we evaluate expansions, like what you mentioned, and any other loan request.
This question is for anyone. Do you guys have a team that works with veterans, that focus solely on veterans?
We don't have a specific lending team that focuses on veterans. We do have a group within the organization that has a veterans focus in terms of, community outreach and those type of things. But you can, reach out to me. And if you have more specific questions on veterans, I'll let you know what we do internally here at BMO Harris Bank. But we don't have a special program for veterans from a lending standpoint.
I have a credit score. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Brad.
I was just going to say, we originated over 50 loans to veteran-owned businesses last year, but we are serving those veteran-owned businesses with the same team we're serving all of the other folks. So it's a mixture of yes and no, I guess, for us.
Mm-hmm. I have a credit score of 740, and I was still rejected. Why?
You should have received an adverse action notice that indicated what the reasons were for the declines. There's no way for me to determine what that was without, knowing what that letter said. I would take a look at that. Generally, you get maybe sometimes 3 reasons for the decline. And then sometimes in that letter, you will have some areas where it kind of tells you these are the things that you can focus on in order to improve that. But what it would indicate on your decline notice what the reasons were.
I have reached out to Mimo with a business plan and was still denied. Where do I go now?
I'm not sure why you were declined, but feel free to reach out to me. We do have a team that takes a look at business plans and whatnot. It's hard for me to say why. I don't know why. But certainly we're willing. I'm willing to take a look at what you have, and we can have that coaching conversation and figure out how we can help.
If new business owner does have excellent credit and assets, but want to separate personal from potential new or sole proprietorship, how does one accomplish that if lenders want to lend to established businesses and not new ones?
That's a good question. So I'll at least briefly talk through how Allies for Community Business looks at that situation. And that may or may not be the same, I think, as the other folks on the panel. So as I mentioned before, we are going to be evaluating the habits of the applicant, the business owner. And for those larger loans between $25,000 and $100,000, we'll also be looking at the performance of the business. So that's for evaluation purposes. For financing purposes, though, if we evaluate you and you look like a good credit risk on our very sort of broad, flexible credit policy, then we make the investment into, and therefore the loan goes to the business that will be using those funds, right? So if, for example, you are looking to segment risk and segment profitability between different businesses by establishing different legal entities, makes sense. And so the financing of, say, a new legal entity, a new business, which is protected against losses from another, say, we would be open to financing that, providing the disbursement dollars to that new legal entity. And we'd be doing so if we're comfortable with the business owner, meaning you, as being sort of creditworthy on your own basis. So I hope that helps to clarify the way that we evaluate credit risk on our side as to whether we will do a loan, but then separately, what we do with the dollars that we're going to disperse to you. And we try to have some flexibility in there in the way that I think you were getting at.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good idea to separate business from personal. When you take a look at your business, when you're applying, once you've done that and you're applying, our application that will ask, how long have you been in business? And so that's what we're counting. As long as if you're more than 2 years old and you're going for the line of credit, we will ask, for that support to show that there was a transition from maybe a sole proprietorship to a LLC. So we'll just ask for support that business just changed structure, but you still have the financial support to support that.
We have 15 minutes left of this segment. I have an arts-related business. It's a theatrical production company. I applied in 2020 for an Illinois Business Interruption Grant, but the program ran out of money. Last year, I applied for a Back to Business grant and got pretty far along in the consideration process. I just learned that once again, the money has been distributed. I don't know what to do next. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I'll take that one. The arts businesses that applied to the Back to Business grant program were put at the very top of the priority list alongside the other priority industries that the state has established. So if you're an arts business, you should have been in the top priority category and therefore been evaluated all the way through the process. And if you're eligible, you should have gotten funded. So I encourage you to, if you would please, to just send a note to me and to our help desk jointly. Actually, just send it to me and I'll take care of it. And I'll put my email address in the chat.
This question is for you. Does Mimo Harris help minority men in business?
If you are identified as Black and Latinx and you're a male, 51% owner, you do qualify under the Special Purpose Credit Program. Does that help?
Going through the questions. For allies, are we able to qualify for the $25,000 to $100,000 as a startup company?
As a startup, no. And the reason is that we're going to be evaluating the business's financial statements as part of that larger loan size. And if you're a startup, you wouldn't have them. And so for startups, we're going to be so generally that's true. The only just nuance there, and it's thought because of what somebody had suggested before about split businesses. If you already have an existing business and you're looking to start up an additional business, that's different because you would have a business for us to evaluate for the purposes of looking at that larger loan between 25K and 100K. But in the circumstance where you're starting your first business, we'd be interested in lending to you up to 25K based on your personal credit habits and history in the absence of having any business financials to review.
Does your financing institution participate in the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund?
I do not believe BMO participates in that fund. I'm not real familiar with it.
We do. And so there's two elements to this. And just for context, the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund is a City of Chicago grant program run by Department of Planning and Development. And so there's a longer story here, but in brief, as part of the goal that the city has established, those grants are going to be going to businesses that are selected. Those businesses then need to pre-fund and match a portion of the grant. And it depends on unique circumstances of the business as to how much and in what form. So we've assisted some number, I don't know off the top of my head how many, but some number of businesses in the past with either or both of their gap financing or pre-funding needs in order to take full advantage of the opportunity the Neighborhood Opportunity Grant Program provides.
I've been working on my credit and have seen my score go up. Should I connect with this company to continue to increase my score or wait to apply for funding once my score is at an acceptable level? And what is considered an acceptable credit score?
I think we go back to credit behavior versus score in terms of taking a look at access to capital, not only for our special program credit programs, but for our standard underwriting. So it's really looking at the behavior. I'm sure there's a baseline in there somewhere in the low 600s is a baseline, but after that, it's more looking at your credit history behavior to be able to assess probability. So I would just say that, again, just take a look at what's there and what you can work on to improve in terms of credit behavior.
Yeah, we don't use credit score at all. So I'll defer to Marissa Bell and Michelle on that one.
What is the best way to get a loan for a vacant partial piece of land to build on?
Yeah, unfortunately, in our small business banking segment, we do not provide. It could be if you're looking to build and sell, that's investor owned. If you're looking to build and stay on the property, then that would probably be more of our personal mortgage area where we can connect you with to have that discussion on purchase and build.
For startup, what is the requirement to apply for a loan with both Allies and BMO?
For Allies, the requirements are as I went through a couple minutes ago. So it's no different for a startup than it is for a non-startup for loans up to $25,000. And again, we're just checking those three things that I mentioned earlier, all of which is on a4cb.org/loans. And again, that's up to $25,000.
So for startups, we have our business credit card program for startups, businesses less than 2 years old. And we pretty much will take a look at the capacity to repay to determine what that level of credit to be extended. If you're looking for anything over $100,000, we do have SBA opportunities for startups, and we have a team within the organization that works with those businesses that are looking for funding more than $100,000.
I applied for the baby loan and was denied because I did not have a storefront. Can I appeal this?
I'm not familiar with the baby loan.
Same.
I believe that for some of those loans, you needed to have teachers and people with certification on childcare. I'm not sure what your daycare facility does. Feel free to reach out to me. I already put my email here, but I'm gonna put it again. Or call me and we can talk about it.
We have 5 minutes left for the segment. If a loan was granted to a business because of excellent credit and assets, will a loan for a new business appear on my personal credit, under my social security number, or under the business tax ID?
So for our business credit facility, we report to the small business exchange, and so it will not show up on your personal credit history. We do not report on the personal side, even though we do pull your personal credit and your guarantor on the loan. We do not report the repayment on your personal.
Are the traditional credit bureaus, TransUnion, Experian, Equifax, the same bureaus that provide credit reports and scores for businesses? Or what is the name of the business bureau issuing credit reports for and scores for small business?
The three you listed are the three that we use for evaluations of credits that we pull and also where we report.
And again, the small business exchange is where we report business repayment history, and I believe they are Dun & Bradstreet, Experian. I think there's one more that they use.
When applying for financial assistance, does one age have any bearing on receiving assistance for a startup business?
If the question was the age of the business owner, no. The age of the business, by definition, as a startup, it's very, very, very young. So that doesn't matter either. Whether it's haven't had a sale at all or I had my first sale 3 months ago, we're going to evaluate those applications the same.
Can I get a loan slowly under my business, or my financial credit is going to be a factor?
For Allies for Community Business, we're going to evaluate the business owner and the business because our belief is that we want to be investing in you as the entrepreneur. And if an entrepreneur has good credit habits, it's likely they're going to pay us back. And if they don't, then it's less likely they're going to pay us back. So for those loans of $25,000, all we're evaluating is you. For the loans between $25,000 and $100,000, we're evaluating both, but we're always going to evaluate the applicant and the applicant's credit profile.
Same here, same for BMO.
And here's our last question. Are you going to evaluate the majority owners or all of the owners of a company when it comes to applying for a loan?
It's a good question. And I'll answer that for what A4CB's credit policy is. So first, we will always evaluate the credit history of the applicant, regardless of where in the ownership chain that entrepreneur, that applicant might be. We will, if that person is not a 50+1% majority owner, we will also then evaluate any other co-owner who has at least 20% ownership in the organization. And we do that because, first of all, we want to make sure that everyone who has at least a 20% ownership stake is aware of the fact that somebody is applying and using the business as the means by which to take credit, to try to get credit. But then secondly, I think for anyone who has 20% or more ownership stake, the theory there is that they have some control, some say, is run because they have that sufficient of a stake. And therefore, for the purposes of us evaluating the likelihood of being paid back, we want to evaluate the habits of all the people who have that degree of influence over the business. So that's the way we think about that.
Yeah, we, again, 51% ownership, we will take a look at that person. But if there's other owners, 20%, same as Brad's policy, and you want someone else to take the lead on the credit, and then there's other guarantors, we will accept them as guarantors. Maybe we need to assess 2 of the owners in the business in order to get the level of access to capital that you need. So it could be that we take a look at someone else, but again, it is really the business that's taking on the debt, and the owners all should be will be made aware of that debt that's being taken on by the business.
If you have questions that have yet to be answered by today's panelists, please feel free to send them an email. All of our panelists have put their contact information in the chat. We'd like to thank all of our panelists for participating in today's expo. Again, if you have questions that have yet to be answered or that you would like more information on these programs that are being offered by today's panelists, please send them an email. All of their email has been put into the chat box. Thank you again to all of our panelists for your participation today.